My funeral will be conducted with the utmost grandeur. After all, I am Zhao Sun's first wife, having upheld the dignity of motherhood for 4 years, dutifully adhering to my responsibilities without a single misstep. Even when he later favored concubine Chen and developed a rift with the Empress Dowager, it was I who skillfully mediated the situation. During concubine Chen's illness, he tended to her without respite for 3 days, abstaining from all sustenance. When my turn came, his face remained devoid of pain, yet he held my gradually cooling hand, sitting in silence for a considerable time. If there is a next life, I shall grant you the title of Empress. I truly awaited the next life. At that time, Zhao Sun had yet to encounter his one true love and resolved to allow the Empress to select a virtuous noblewoman to become his consort. The Empress pointed to me. When he turned to look at me, his fingertips shifted slightly, choosing another. Perhaps we should select Miss Li Er instead. The moment my gaze met Zhao Sun's, I hastily averted my eyes. Seated before me was the 18-year-old Prince Wei, Zhao Sun, adorned in splendid attire. His countenance like a jade crown, yet his demeanor exuded an aloof detachment. He had reached the age for marriage, yet without a beloved. He acquiesced to the arrangements of the Empress. In this lifetime, the Empress had approached me once, but I gracefully declined her proposal. Thus, with a hint of regret, she sighed softly, her fingers momentarily pausing before gently moving to the next name, Li Shuanghua. "Let us choose, Miss Li," she declared. Li Shuanghua rose joyfully, kneeling to express her gratitude. Zhao Sun lifted his eyelids, his frigid gaze lingering on her for but a moment, much like how he once regarded me. There was no admiration nor dissatisfaction, merely an expression of slightly acceptable as he accepted this decision. The Empress, adhering to protocol, casually inquired, "Does Prince Wei have any objections?" He hesitated momentarily before replying none. It mattered not who it was, as long as she was not his beloved. 2. As I stepped outside the palace, a light drizzle fell, the ground reflecting the blurred silhouette of my figure. I slightly lifted the edge of my umbrella, meeting the gaze of my 15-year-old self in the reflection, and for a fleeting moment, it felt as though we were worlds apart. Zhao Sun had spoken. Once he agreed to the marriage, it was irrevocable. I would no longer succumb to illness within the palace walls. I vividly recalled the day of my death, when throngs of people came, court officials kneeling outside the palace, and noble ladies kneeling within. Only consort Chen did not arrive. Her frail constitution feared the lingering illness. Zhao Sun sat beside me, holding my slightly cold hand, the silk of his sleeve enveloping my hand in gentle warmth. I struggled to remember the matters I wished to convey to him. "If a new empress is to be appointed, please elevate concubine Li," I implored. "She is composed and dignified, and would not trouble consort Chen." My motives were not entirely selfless. Firstly, though I had contended with Li Shuanghua for years, I admired her. Her lifelong aspiration was to ascend to a position of prominence, and I wished to elevate her. Secondly, I harbored resentment towards both consort Chen and Zhao Sun. She entered the palace clad in humble garb, bore no children, yet was bestowed the title of Empress, igniting a storm of controversy. Officials advised my father, and secret missives even reached my hands. As the year drew to a close, with the affairs of the 6 palaces consuming me, I, heavily pregnant, felt compelled to dissuade Zhao Sun. Outside, a tempest raged, yet he only saw me, still considering the child within me. Inside, the palace was warm as spring. His demeanor was as cold as ice, his eyes half-lidded as he uttered but 2 sentences to me. "The Empress even coerces you. You have long resided in the depths of the palace and know not. I have scarce encountered one willing to trust me with true feelings." I froze, feeling thoroughly mortified as I clutched my sleeve. Indeed, I harbored true feelings as well. When I wed Zhao Sun, I had just celebrated my 16th birthday. The red veil was lifted, and as I gazed into those calm, bright eyes, ripples of emotion stirred within my heart. For 3 years, I was the Princess of Wei, followed by 3 years as the Empress, respecting and honoring him as equals. I believed there was at least some affection between us. In my sorrow, I failed to notice the remnants of snow clinging to my steps. Now, as it melted, it left behind a dampness. As I took my leave, I stumbled at the palace gates and was compelled to remain in bed to ensure the safety of my child. This fall marked the first occasion Zhao Sun rescinded a decree. The young girl, unable to remain composed, erupted in anger. "Your Majesty," she exclaimed, "I had long heard of her virtuous reputation and intended to pay my respects. Yet, who knew she would resort to using even my legitimate son to prevent my elevation to empress? Such tactics are truly despicable. She should never have struck at my vulnerable heart. Despite my illness, I summoned her and ordered her to be silenced for 20 strikes. Her face swollen, she fled in tears. Upon learning of this, Zhao Sun, consumed by rage, issued orders to elevate consort Chen, making her beyond my easy reach. Thus, animosity grew between consort Chen and me. However, I never intended to make her plight difficult. It was she who had insulted me first. And if I did not penalize her, it would be hard to maintain my authority. I explained this to Zhao Sun, and upon hearing my words, he merely chuckled, a hint of mockery lacing his laughter. "If you wish to assert your authority, you need only declare that you have already punished her. Why resort to actual punishment?" My heart suddenly recoiled. I realized then that the man before me was not only an emperor, he could also be an ally to others, and could easily place me in a difficult position for their sake. 3. In the time that followed, consort Chen basked in Zhao Sun's favor, while all other concubines sought to avoid her brilliance. I found myself powerless, overwhelmed with worries. I often recalled the deposed empress who had fallen from grace. Zhao Sun was no mere puppet. He wielded ultimate power over life and death. If I troubled consort Chen, he would reprimand me. I dared not contemplate my fate should I obstruct her path. My heart grew heavy, and I sank into despair. At 7 months of pregnancy, consort Chen once again crossed paths with me. Cradling her beloved dog, she casually remarked, "Your Majesty, such tactics can only be employed once." Furrowing my brow, I commanded her to be taken away, refusing to see her. Yet it was too late. The dog suddenly barked furiously and lunged at me. Someone stepped in front of me, but I was still startled, falling to the ground. By the time Zhao Sun arrived, Li Guifei had already ordered her detained. Consort Chen wept, her tear-streaked face marred, a section of her delicate wrist bruised. She sobbed, "I know not what happened. The empress stumbled back at the sight of me and had my dog killed." Zhao Sun, infuriated, approached me, suspecting I had ensnared her with my child. Upon arrival, he was met with palace servants carrying out buckets of blood. I had gone into premature labor. The child survived but half a day and no name was given. I lapsed into a coma for 3 days. Zhao Sun remained by my side for 2 days. On the brink of death, I heard him whispering in my ear, "It was my error. I misjudged her. Once you awaken, she shall be at your mercy." Ultimately, I endured. Upon waking, I dismissed my attendants and armed myself with a blade, seeking consort Chen. The April air had grown warm, yet I trembled uncontrollably, unable to grasp the hilt of the knife. The guards dared not impede me. Consort Chen sat on the ground, her crown fallen, her face a mask of terror. Just a few strikes, I thought, and she could atone for my childless life. Yet that strike never descended. An arrow flew from afar, piercing my hand. The bow was in Zhao Sun's grasp. Upon seeing him, consort Chen rose, kicking me in the knee, and leaped into his embrace, laden with the grievances of survival. Zhao Sun pushed her away and gathered me into his arms. "Qingzhu, I know you are in pain, but her transgressions do not warrant death." I felt drained, akin to a rootless floating reed, gently settling in his embrace. Tears poured forth like a torrent, cascading down my cheeks. For consort Chen was placed under house arrest, forbidden to leave without decree. It was Zhao Sun who shielded her. Even my poison could not reach her. I understood my time was short and made arrangements for my affairs. All that needed to be said had already been spoken. To Zhao Sun, I had but one request, to appoint Li Guifei. Upon hearing this, he agreed, gently brushing aside the hair at my temple, a fleeting expression of bewilderment and heartache crossing his features. He gazed at me in silence for a long while before speaking. "And what of me? Is there not a single word left for me?" His voice was unexpectedly hoarse. What more was there for me to convey? He was wealthy, with affection surrounding him. I wished to express my hatred, yet could not. I was dying, and those who remained would continue to serve him as their sovereign. I managed a faint smile. my complexion pale as I softly uttered, "Then I wish your majesty a prosperous reign, long life, and no worries." His grip suddenly tightened around my hand. Zhao Sun bowed his head, resting his forehead against mine, his movements trembling. "If there is a next life, I shall bestow upon you the title of Empress once more." A single, scalding tear fell upon my brow. My thoughts began to blur. In a hazy reverie, I mused, if there truly were a next life, I would not wish to be his empress again. I breathed my last in his embrace, his hands clutching my icy ones, yet he could never warm them. The rain of that day fell as it did now, lightly cascading, moistening my cheeks. 5. I dried my face, releasing a soft sigh. The empress ordered her attendant to escort me out of the palace. I waited long, unable to turn back and look. The palace gates stood resolutely shut. Beneath the eaves stood a solitary figure, holding an unextended umbrella, gazing at me through the beaded curtain of rain. It was Zhao Sun. I recalled that prior to the marriage proposal, the empress had already sought to unite us. I had pursued him for a time, riding and hunting together, partaking in the flowing wine along the meandering stream. His demeanor towards me had always been indifferent. It was only after the betrothal that he offered me a smile, one that seemed to convey a mix of resignation and compromise. "To spend a lifetime with you doesn't seem so bad." I discreetly took a step back, lowering my brow and bending slightly. "I have met your highness." He descended the steps, and through the mist, his eyes appeared to have been imbued with a tinge of desolation. "Why is it not you?" he inquired, seemingly filled with genuine curiosity. It was evident that I, favored by the empress overly Shuanghua, was still his preference. I hesitated. The surrounding crowd had been dismissed, and he awaited my response, his gaze fixed upon me. The youthful Zhao Sun, typically reticent and distant, seemed unable to voice his thoughts as he hesitantly repeated, "Why is it not you? The empress chose you from the very beginning." I found myself at a loss for words. I could not divulge how he had treated me poorly in my past life, nor could I admit that my resentment remained, for I not only wished to avoid marrying him, but even desired his demise. I pressed my lips together. "Because your highness does not favor commoners. To spend the rest of one's life in the company of someone unloved seems excessively dull and painful." He had spoken those very words before, claiming that the beloved Qin Fei was special to him, which prompted me to retreat further to maintain the facade of tranquility, even persuading the empress on my own. I had no intention of allowing him to grow weary of my presence for the latter half of his life. My demise would come early, so soon that my mother, whose hair had not yet turned gray, would come to the palace gates to send off my coffin. The annals of history would laud my virtue, while vehemently disparaging Qin Fei. Yet, upon reflection, I realized that virtue meant nothing. Wealth and power dissipated into smoke and clouds after death. Only the pain of loved ones and the glee of enemies remained. I yearned to live fully. Zhao Sun fell silent for a moment, his grip on the umbrella tightening, his knuckles turning pale. And if I were to say, beads of rain fell, striking the edge of the umbrella. "Your Highness," I gently interrupted, "the rain has intensified. It would be difficult for me to depart if I linger." Behind him, the palace door swung open, and a matron emerged, holding an umbrella and smiling as she approached. "Your Highness, the Empress and Miss Li Air are waiting for you inside." She turned her gaze toward me, noticing the umbrella in my hand, and offered me a handkerchief, advising me to be cautious of the rainwater clinging to me. I expressed my gratitude as I accepted it. Zhao Sun's words were interrupted, and he chose not to continue. His gaze lingered on me for a brief moment before he withdrew, stepping back into the palace. The doors closed slightly, and the sounds of laughter from the Empress and Li Shuanghua spilled out, with Zhao Sun responding with a light chuckle and a few words. The matron guided me out of the palace. The palace path was long. Only those of high rank could ride in sedan chairs. I walked for a while, my shoes and socks soaked, feeling somewhat disheveled. The matron assisted me into the carriage and suddenly sighed deeply, her tone laden with meaning. "Oh, my dear girl, you are rather naive. Prince Wei has taken notice of you. I have seen it with my own eyes." Was it truly infatuation? It was merely that my abrupt change had thrown him off balance. Yet I understood that the matron meant well, who was unaware that the Empress favored Prince Wei and Prince Qi, despite having no biological children. With the crown prince yet to be established, Prince Wei, being older, had a greater chance. I lifted the carriage curtain with my fingertips and smiled gently at her. My heart is not set upon this. I returned home earlier than expected. The others needed no further inquiry. Their hearts were already aware. How could I not have been chosen? My grandfather held a lofty position. My father was a trusted confidant of the emperor, possessing both talent and beauty that could not be faulted. How could I be overlooked by Li Shuanghua? My mother grasped my hand, hesitating as she urged me not to be disheartened. There are many fine young men in the world. Marrying into a noble family is also a good fate. I shook my head, saying it was I who had declined. I softly expressed, I do not wish to marry a prince. I only seek a person of excellent character. If none are found, I shall remain unmarried. My mother was taken aback, unable to fathom that the esteemed Pei family had raised a daughter of such disposition. She did not know that I had been an empress, entered the annals of history, yet had not lived well, but I believed she would understand. After my death, my mother wept inconsolably, joining the noble ladies in demanding the execution of Chen Fei, while my father, having removed his official cap, knelt and pleaded for Zhao Sun to provide an explanation. I had left behind a letter, urging them to preserve themselves and not concern themselves with me. As I recalled this, I lowered my head, my throat tightening suddenly. She noticed my reddened eyes and grew anxious, patting the back of my hand, her tone softening. All right. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. For reasons unknown, the palace had yet to relay the imperial decree granting marriage to Prince Wei, and the minds of various families began to stir once more. The next encounter with Zhao Sun occurred during the flower festival, a time when spring was fully blossoming, and flowers vied for attention in a splendid display. The sun shone brightly, warming me and momentarily allowing me to forget the damp chill of Kuan Ning Palace. I sat beside the floral thicket, alongside the ladies of various families, cutting ribbons to adorn the branches. Li Shuanghua suggested that we write something on paper. Not far away, a gathering of literati indulged in poetry and wine. Miss Lu San frequently glanced in their direction, her cheeks flushed. Everyone knew her fiancé was among them, and they teased her to go borrow some ink and brush. She returned with the items, accompanied by a servant whom I recognized as one who often followed Zhao Sun. The servant held a redwood tray, his demeanor respectful and his smile obsequious. This is a gift from His Highness to Miss Peyer. Such an honor drew the attention of many. I found myself rooted in place, unsure whether to accept the tray or decline it. This experience had not occurred in my previous life. Laughter echoed around me. No wonder Prince Wei has yet to finalize things. It is clear he is dissatisfied with Miss Lier. Li Shuanghua stood up, casting a cold glance at the gathering. Silence fell as she left in a huff. I accepted the tray, gently placing it down, and uttered a remark. Miss Lier has the Empress's favor and often accompanies the Phoenix carriage. How can we compare? She departed too swiftly, and I hurried after her, unsure how to console her, whispering that she was already wonderful and need not heed the words of others. In my previous life, it was she who had encouraged me, yet each person has their own aspirations, making it difficult to empathize. She could not comfort me, nor could I soothe her. We walked for a while before she exhaled heavily and pulled me back. Forget it. If I hide away, it only shows that I am pricked at my sore spot. I cut the colored paper, while she wrote wishes to the flower deity. I wrote as well, borrowing her ink. As noon approached and the crowd dispersed, Zhao Sun strolled toward us, approaching the vibrant flowering trees. He was tall and spotted my colored paper at once, slightly tilting his head as he softly recited, "Old rewards for the garden bring joy without wind or rain. Spring birds herald safety." He suddenly paused, taken aback. "Is this your only wish?" I did not meet his gaze. Yes. Merely this wish was already a rarity. In my past life, I had endured nothing but bitter storms. Even before my death, it was unmistakably a good season of spring breezes and gentle rains, yet I feared the cold and the damp. My unhealed wounds ached painfully. And each night I lay awake, my eyes red, listening to the rain striking the banana leaves, contemplating my fate. I had done nothing wrong, yet I found myself in such dire circumstances. The same scene, with Zhao Sun added, transformed into a painful memory. Zhao Sun casually picked up a nearby ribbon, glancing at it briefly. You do not seek love, wealth, or beauty. I did not respond to his words. The wind rustled through the treetops, the ribbons and streamers swaying gently in the spring light. I brushed away a ribbon that had clung to my forehead. His breathing became slightly erratic, and feeling the conversation had lost its charm, he averted his gaze. The tray was placed elsewhere, and the items he had sent remained untouched and neatly arranged. Zhao Sun's expression darkened slightly, as if he finally comprehended my desire to avoid him. I had more pressing matters to attend to. After the flower festival, I had been seeking information for quite some time, and at last I had news. I found the former Chen Fei. In the desolate temple on the outskirts of the city, under the cloak of night, I bit my lip tightly, the metallic taste of blood mingling with the air. My maid, Xiuyun, restrained the slumbering maiden before me. She stated, "The household registration and name have been thoroughly verified. She is indeed the person you seek." She did not inquire as to why I would harbor such animosity towards someone I had never met, nor did she question my resolve to bring her to her demise. All she knew was that I was consumed by hatred, unable to find solace until this deed was accomplished. A sharp dagger was placed into my hands. I gazed at the familiar visage before me, too fearful to dwell on the thoughts that swirled in my mind, too hesitant to delay, and with a swift motion, I plunged the blade into her heart. Blood splattered onto my cheeks, warm and vivid. In a daze, I sank to the ground, covering my face with a handkerchief. The fragmented statue of the Buddha stood solemnly, as if absorbing everything within its gaze. The night breeze whispered around me, scattering the remnants of my thoughts like petals in spring. I remembered the child who had only graced this world with a fleeting glimpse. Nameless and deemed ill-fated by the empress, her essence now lost in the tomb, akin to flowers that drift away with the season. In my stupor, I had never laid eyes upon her, nor seen her final moments. I clutched the shattered incense burner at my side, my nails digging in as if to anchor myself. My heart ached as though it were gripped tightly, stifling my breath, and my cries were muffled and sporadic. Xiuyun, taken aback, gently patted my back. I remained vigilant through the night until dawn, confirming that my former enemy had no pulse, her body now rigid. The first task was complete. Xiuyun took care of the corpse while I wearily exited the dilapidated temple. The sunlight pierced through the thick fog, illuminating my surroundings. As the mist began to clear, I noticed a figure standing amidst it. The newcomer was slender and tall, akin to a pine or cypress, dressed simply, and thus not immediately striking. I recognized him. Yet in this moment, he did not recognize me. He had witnessed my act of murder. In a past life, Zhao Sun often spoke of a certain individual, Lu Weiyan, the third-place candidate from the imperial examination that year. Zhao Sun admired his talents and sought to cultivate a rapport with him. As the Princess of Wei, I had met him once in Zhao Sun's company. He wore a vibrant crimson official robe, strikingly bright, yet his demeanor was as forbidding as the snow of Mount Gaia, making it difficult to gaze upon him directly. Zhao Sun summoned him, but Lu Weiyan, citing official duties, coldly declined, displeasing Zhao Sun. During the Yellow River flood relief, he accompanied Zhao Sun to provide aid. Zhao Sun sought to win the people's hearts. I had sold my jewelry, donned plain attire, and stood by the roadside distributing porridge. The spring sun was fierce after the rain, and my heart was heavy with the suffering of the populace, leaving me standing there all day under its relentless glare. That evening, Zhao Sun embraced me, concerned for my gone appearance, urging me not to take it so seriously. In the following days, I returned to the site, where Lu Weiyan was also present. No one expected this young nobleman, who appeared as if he belonged seated in a grand hall, to be standing in the mud, personally establishing water levels and building dikes, indifferent to the stains on his clothes. I admired him silently for a long time. He seemed to sense my gaze, his spine stiffening, unwilling to meet my eyes. Later, when Zhao Sun attempted to draw him closer, he discovered that Lu Weiyan had already allied himself with the Qi Prince, Zhao Sun's greatest political rival. Ultimately, the Qi Prince was defeated and killed, paving the way for Zhao Sun's ascendance, while Lu Weiyan became a prisoner of the court. I visited the imperial prison to persuade Zhao Sun on his behalf. Zhao Sun, valuing talent, considered that if Lu Weiyan were willing to abandon his old master and follow him, It could become a tale of splendid camaraderie, with high rank and wealth assured. The prison was damp and cold, and I wore a cloak. He sat in a corner, his clothing thin, disheveled hair obscuring his brow, his complexion pale, entirely lacking the grace he once possessed. When he raised his head, his expression was calm and indifferent, as if resigned to his fate. Our eyes met, and though I wished to offer counsel, the words remained unspoken. Instead, I instructed someone to come in, tidy the place, and bring him some additional clothing. I urged Zhao Sun to spare his life, to exile him from the capital rather than execute an honorable scholar, demonstrating the emperor's magnanimity. Zhao Sun agreed to banish Lu Weiyan to distant lands. After that encounter in the prison, we never met again until my death. The figure approached slowly, and I noticed he carried a satchel, appearing travel-worn, with his eyelashes and brow tips glistening as if kissed by the mist, rendering his eyes somewhat moist. His features, unlike in the past, were now softened and youthful. I knew Lu Weiyan came from a humble background, yet I did not expect to find him here in this broken temple, a scholar on his way to the examination, everything unfolding just as in the tales. In those stories, the noble lady would offer the impoverished scholar silver, even pledging herself in return. Were I in her position, perhaps I too would have extended a sum, but only to ensure he would remain silent, forbidding him from ever mentioning today's events. My palms were clammy with sweat. Steadying the veil, I extended a hand. Lu Weiyan spoke. I have already checked. There is no one nearby. I will not speak of this matter either. His voice was like a breeze rustling through the trees, shaking off dewdrops. I was momentarily stunned, uncertain. I trusted his words would not waver, yet I could not dismiss my doubts. It was manageable to deal with the commoner, but Lu Weiyan, now a man of distinction, I could not afford to kill, lest I invite greater calamity. Thus, I withdrew my hand and softly said, "Thank you." The white veil hung like thick fog, obscuring his expression, though he seemed to smile faintly. This matter, like a fallen blossom, would drift away, known only to the three of us. In March, as the spring examinations approached, my mother frequently fretted over my uncertain marriage prospects, jokingly urging my father to seek a suitable suitor. The empress was equally anxious, selecting a new batch of young ladies. However, this time, Zhao Sun had his preferences, finding fault with everyone, deeming none sufficient. I heard he dreamt of a girl from a prominent family, kind-hearted and gentle, who spoke softly and treated her servants with grace. Together, they would advance and retreat harmoniously, sharing joys and sorrows. In his dreams, the spring rain fell softly, while willows swayed gently. Yet, he could never discern her face, awakening with a sense of loss. There were many gentle and virtuous ladies, but who could guarantee that the chosen one would stand by him through thick and thin? My mother looked at me with concern, stroking my hair. A girl from a noble family, kind-hearted and gentle. I can't shake the feeling that the Prince of Wei still holds you in mind. This was hardly a good sign. I shook my head, concealing my blood-stained hands within my sleeves, which were cold and unyielding. How could I be kind-hearted? I had just taken a life, and I would take another in the future. On the day of the announcement, I was at a tea house, accompanied by Li Shuanghua, watching the top scholar parade through the streets. She insisted I must see him, claiming it was a delight for the eyes. I hear this year's top scholar is more handsome than the flower of the examination. I found myself momentarily lost in thought. Before becoming a princess, I had shown little interest in political affairs, and with so many years past, I would scarcely recall even the top 3 candidates if I had no ties to them. The spring breeze caressed my face as the falling apricot blossoms danced around me. As I brushed my hair back and looked down, I was suddenly taken aback. Lu Weiyan rode a white horse, a floral hat adorning his head. In this moment of triumph, he remained composed, free from agitation. Apricot blossoms scattered across his shoulders. The blossom that had just brushed against my hair spiraled down as I moved, and he abruptly looked up, catching it in his palm. It felt as if we shared an unspoken understanding, as if years had passed, leaving us disoriented in the present. Only when Xiuyun arrived to call me, stating my father wished to see me, did I hurriedly lift my skirts and descend the stairs. This year, my father was in charge of the imperial examination proceedings. He had fought tirelessly, nearly clashing with other officials, to secure the proper and reserved top scholar. He sought to share his accomplishments with me, stating that this scholar, though not eloquent, was encouraged by him to come personally to propose marriage. I was taken aback. It was true that he lacked eloquence. His writings were indeed exquisite. Yet he seemed too timid to speak with me. I recalled how everyone often remarked on Lu Weiyan's striking appearance, but his nature was unyielding and resolute. Yet, he alone could not bear to meet my gaze, always hurriedly avoiding my eyes as if I were a fearsome beast. Before the Qianglin banquet had even commenced, Lu Weiyan had dismounted and stood aside, tall and graceful, his demeanor bright and distinguished. His fingertips trembled slightly, causing the apricot blossoms in his hand to quiver. He lowered his delicate eyelids, his earlobes as red as the palace flowers, speaking with a hint of trepidation. I, Lu, possess nothing but sincerity and my life to offer before Miss Pei. Such words surely required immense courage to utter. I recognized him as a person of remarkable character. I had witnessed his advocacy for the people, seen him speak truth to power. It seemed every aspect of him was admirable. I gently smoothed my dress, acknowledging that marriage was likely an inevitable fate. If it were him, it would seem splendid. I raised my eyes and smiled gently. Very well. My father chuckled, playfully nudging his colleague. All right, everyone disperse. The top scholar is to become a son-in-law of the Pei family. There is no need to linger any longer. The sound of hooves echoed. In an instant, the surroundings fell into a sudden silence. Everyone turned to pay their respects to the King of Wei. I followed suit bowing. Yet, I witnessed him dismounting and striding directly towards me, casting a shadow upon me that enveloped me like a looming storm cloud. He coldly inquired, Pei Yinju, what have you promised him? The King of Wei was here to attend the banquet, yet at this moment, he stood in the way of all, his expression darkened like a tempest brewing. I did not fear him. With esteemed officials present and the sovereign himself in attendance, what could he dare to do? I lifted my head and replied with decorum, I have agreed to the marriage with the top scholar. A simple statement, yet it rippled through his eyes like a stone cast into water, stirring boundless waves. He appeared as if struck by lightning, his form rendered rigid. Panic and confusion intertwined in his gaze. Lu Weiyan's eyes were fixed upon him, his brow seemingly frosted. I lowered my head. The banquet was about to commence, and I could not linger. I took my leave first. The Qianglin banquet was bustling with fervor. My father mentioned that the top scholar was young and accomplished, and the emperor was in high spirits, bestowing a marriage between Lu Weiyan and me. The King of Wei seemed distracted. For some unknown reason, he clumsily shattered a wine cup. My engagement to Lu Weiyan was now settled. He sent numerous gifts my way, sometimes imperial bestowals, other times exquisite paintings acquired through trade. Before even entering the Hanlin Academy, he was directly granted an official position by the emperor, along with a salary. The betrothal gifts continued to accumulate. I often found myself astonished as I viewed the list. In my past life, he had always been solitary. Zhao Sun had once jested with me, pondering what it would be like if someone like Lu Weiyan were to marry. He believed that with only state affairs in his heart, his wife would likely be left lonely. Now, I understood. Though he possessed little wealth, he would offer his all, presenting a sincere heart. During our leisure, Lu Weiyan and I strolled together. The small bridge, flowing water, and drifting petals surrounded us. He wielded the oars, guiding our little boat. As I gazed down at him, I noticed his hand was broad and well-defined. No wonder he had once carried bricks and wielded a bow in his past life. Lu Weiyan seemed slightly uncomfortable under my gaze, causing the boat to veer off course toward the shore. I leaned slightly forward. The wind rustled the gauzy curtain, brushing against his face. His eyelashes fluttered, and he suddenly turned to face me, raising a hand to adjust the white veil, his cheeks flushed, too shy to look again. Yinju. It was the first time I heard him call me that. In my previous life, when he arrived in the capital, I was already to be the future princess. Later, I became the empress. When the palace attendants conveyed the decree from the prison saying the empress had pardoned him, his dim eyes sparkled with a hint of light as he received the decree with gratitude, yet he had never addressed me by name. He said, in truth, I had been outside the temple that day all along. He had just crowned in Jiangnan, and someone had already provided him with funds. He needn't have stayed in a dilapidated temple. He merely happened to pass by while on his journey and fortuitously witnessed my act of killing. Lu, a man of integrity, yet that time, his sole reaction was to remain outside and shield me from the truth. Outside the temple, the wind howled as I wept. And he sighed. He asked, "Is the debt not yet paid?" I felt aggrieved, gripping the white veil tightly, and muttered, "Yes." There was no need for explicit words. He too had been reborn. He admitted he did not dare to propose, knowing he was unworthy. Yet, after experiencing life, he understood that even the most exalted monarch could not bring me happiness, feeling unworthy of me. Having been reborn, he became the top scholar and, with my father's admiration, finally mustered the courage to speak. He bowed his head, his shadow dancing upon the lake's surface, the light shimmering. "I implore you, Inju, to favor me." The boat bobbed and swayed, drifting for half an hour before finally reaching the shore. I placed my hand in Lu Weiyan's palm, lifting my skirts as I stepped off the boat, only to encounter the procession of the King of Wei. He had remained there, watching our intertwined hands with a dark countenance. Zhao Sun claimed he remembered everything. He recalled how I had accompanied him, not merely in accumulating prestige step by step, but also standing by his side during the palace upheaval, sharing life and death. He advanced closer. "Inju, why do you stand beside another?" Today, his hair was unkempt, having ridden in hastily, appearing disheveled, which only accentuated his once noble demeanor now turned ominous. He addressed Lu Weiyan. "Had I known you harbored such intentions, I should have disregarded Inju's feelings and had you torn to shreds." The last few words were uttered with great venom, clearly filled with hatred. Lu Weiyan remained undaunted, meeting his gaze coolly. The wind rippled across the lake, causing the ties in his hair to flutter like shadows of swords. "Your Highness," he stated, "the outcome is not as it once was. Victor and vanquished remain uncertain. In this new life, he was not yet the emperor, and the outcome was still undetermined. Should the king of Qi ascend the throne, it would be Zhao Sun who faced the dire consequences." Zhao Sun's eyes reddened as they fixed upon me, his complexion gradually turning pale. "Do you believe that too? Do you think I might fail?" The surrounding onlookers were dispersed, too timid to gaze upon us. He questioned me. "Are you dissatisfied with becoming my primary wife?" Lu Weiyan's expression turned icy, positioning himself protectively behind me. He was tall, his presence rivaling that of Zhao Sun. "Your Highness, is it necessary to inquire further on this matter?" By the time I died, I had been Zhao Sun's wife for 7 years, dutiful and never having quarreled with him. He believed he treated me well. Throughout the palace, I held significant power, and even if favored consorts attempted to overshadow me, my position as queen remained unshaken. Before my demise, I wished him longevity and peace, and he promised me a future together. He presumed this was a weighty promise, believing that our fates were intertwined and that I would be his destined empress. Yet, he clearly saw my suffering but chose to ignore it, thinking my words were mere pleasantries. "Those words are insincere." I gazed at him, watching the falling petals drift from behind him as the sky darkened. "I loathe you, Zhao Sun, and wish never to meet again in this lifetime. I merely wished to safeguard those around me." My words held no truth. The expression on Zhao Sun's face gradually cracked, disbelief washing over him as he stumbled back, nearly losing his balance. I lifted my gaze towards Lu Weiyan, a smile illuminating my face. "Where shall we go next?" "It seems we need to visit the temple for our fortune." We had matched our birth dates and chosen an auspicious day for our wedding. Zhao Sun found himself powerless. He finally comprehended how powerless I had once been. It appeared I wielded power, yet above me loomed a sovereign whose favor I had yet to earn, rendering me unable to accomplish anything. Zhao Sun knelt outside the Zicheng Hall, unable to rise. A bamboo scroll was flung out, striking his forehead. "Absurd! You wish to take a minister's wife. This matter need not be mentioned again. Continue this way, and you shall return to your fief." Such words were grave, implying he was forever barred from the throne. On the day of my wedding, Zhao Sun did not attend the banquet, and the emperor forbade Lu Weiyan from sending him an invitation. Instead, he indulged in a drunken stupor at the grandest tavern in the capital. After this bout of inebriation, he awakened once more. Indeed, no matter the circumstances, he remained the most important to himself. He was in despair, while I was in the bridal chamber. Previously, Zhao Sun was courteous to outsiders, but cold to his disfavored wife. Lu Weiyan, however, was stern with outsiders, yet with me, he lost the audacity to speak freely, often turning crimson at just a few exchanged words, fearing I might find him dull. I had consumed some wine, draping my arms around his neck, hazily asking, "When did you first fall for me?" Lu Weiyan replied from the very first glance. The candlelight flickered, casting a dreamy haze that blurred the boundaries between past and present. I smiled proudly, teasing him. "You, Sir Lu, possess great audacity." He swallowed hard, aware that his feelings at that time could only be termed as coveting. Gently, he grasped my wrist, leaning closer, his eyes sparkling like stars. I, Lu, could be even bolder. Is that permissible? After his drunken escapade, Zhao Sun immersed himself in state affairs. Armed with memories from his previous life, he was destined for greatness. Every plan was meticulously crafted, yet a single deviation could unravel everything. Our rebirth had inadvertently disrupted the celestial order. The calamities of our past lives did not unfold as anticipated. The causes of the flood have changed, and so too has the number of displaced people. Zhao Sun, filled with ambition, was caught off guard and failed to become the savior he aspired to be. Yet the king of Qi succeeded. He is benevolent, deeply concerned for the welfare of the common folk. Together with Lu Weiyan, I traveled to various places. I continued to distribute porridge and assist at the medical hall, while he rolled up his sleeves and undertook the arduous labor that no one else was willing to do. I recalled the first time I met him. I had not expected that the renowned scholar, famed for his handsome visage, would be so earnest and capable of such deeds. However, this time, we stood together in the murky waters, our garments soaked, and it mattered not. The common people along the roadside extolled our names, as if Pei Yinzhu and Lu Weiyan were destined to be together. Momentarily lost in thought, I gradually understood. This was the camaraderie I had longed for, a shared resolve. Lu Weiyan was promoted and donned the crimson official robes once more. He had become the king of Qi's trusted confidant, displaying greater composure and intelligence than in his previous life, deftly handling affairs with precision. Yet, the palace was rife with unrest. The emperor was gravely ill, succumbing much earlier than in the past, and, like before, he passed away suddenly, leaving no edict or words behind. The king of Qi had prepared for this eventuality, and naturally, Zhao Sun instigated a coup. After a day of chaos, Zhao Sun managed to escape, although he found himself at a disadvantage. His past as an emperor endowed him with familiarity of the palace layout and the secret paths known only to sovereigns. The king of Qi was anxious, fearing that without eliminating him entirely, Zhao Sun might rise again. I stated, "I know where Wei Wang will flee." The king looked at me in astonishment, then glanced at Lu Weiyan, who remained impassive. He said, "I will escort you." I found Zhao Sun, who appeared haggard and troubled after our long separation. His silver armor was stained with blood, and it seemed he had reached the end of his road. His guards had perished, but there were still allies waiting outside the palace to assist him, granting him a chance at survival. With gentle eyes, I said, "Zhao Sun, I can take you away." A simple declaration, yet the moonlight illuminated my hair and hem, reminiscent of the time I stood beside him years ago. I added, "I do not wish for you to die." His gaze, though fraught with despair, shimmered with tears, a mixture of joy and disbelief, as if he were moved. He had once given me hope in a similar manner. He said, "The consort can be dealt with at my discretion." Yet, in a cruel twist, he shot an arrow that pierced my hand, severing my last chance at resistance. I felt a tumult of emotions, both wanting to cry and to laugh, in his eyes. I remained entangled in love for him. After all, we had been married for 7 years, and he was confident in my affection for him. Zhao Sun rose, declaring, "I will go with you, if I can return to kill again. The harem is empty. I desire only you." I suppressed the mocking laughter within, and, lifting my skirt, fled with him down a deserted path. Yet my stamina waned, and I gradually fell behind. I grasped the dagger concealed in my sleeve, panting, "Zhao Sun, I cannot run anymore." He turned back to pull me along, only to see a blade thrust through his chest. I drew my dagger, expressionless, and plunged it again. His eyes widened in disbelief, and he emitted a choked gasp. I smiled faintly, saying, "Do you feel it? The sting of betrayal." He offered no resistance, his breath fading, granting me the rare opportunity to converse. "Your beloved consort has died. I killed her long ago, only regretting that you met your end too soon to reunite with her." He strained to extend his hand, attempting to grasp my sleeve, his breath faint, his voice barely audible. He uttered my name, Anju. "In truth, after your death, I had her executed to repay her life with yours." I had not lived to witness that moment, and knew not the veracity of his words. Nor could I ponder whether the consort was his true love, or merely a recent favorite. I only remembered that I had once treated him with utmost kindness, pouring everything into our relationship, while he had treated me poorly, as if I were an enemy. I coldly averted my gaze, and thrust the dagger once more. The hidden guards around us stood up in unison. I was cautious. It was not as if I had lured him here alone. Even if he discerned my insincerity, it would matter not. The outcome was merely a difference between dying by my hand or being struck down by errant arrows. I gripped my dagger and declared clearly, "I have slain the traitor." Lu Weiyan strode forth and enveloped me in his embrace. He wiped the cold sweat from my brow and steadied my trembling form. Leaning down, our foreheads touched, and he sighed. He called my name, Anju, not uttering anything more, but repeating it with care and tenderness. From a genuinely gentle soul to what he has become now, he has endured too much. This should mark the first spring I encountered after my rebirth. The new emperor ascended the throne, granting a general amnesty and instituting a tax reform of 1 in 30. The spring breeze nurtured the dormant trees, reviving them. I was honored with the title of princess due to my contributions. The new emperor, recognizing my long-standing fatigue, granted Lu Weiyan a month of respite to accompany me in leisurely pursuits. As we drifted down the river on a painted boat, we encountered rain along the way. I merely donned a rain cloak at the bow, allowing the rain to fall into my palms. He always attentively observed my expression, fearing I might be moved by the scenery. I smiled freely, assuring him, "It will not happen." After all, it was merely a vast expanse of wind and rain, observing the rise and fall of the tide. The end of the text. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next story.